Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters Encounters video. I thought I would mix another one of these in here while I'm continuing to do your Cryptids and Monsters suggestions. Please keep them coming because I'm going to go ahead and do just a few more, and then I'm going to wrap up this series and start focusing on another thing. The reason why I picked this one is because a couple months back, I did a very popular video, 20 things you didn't know about gnomes. It got to be a big video too. Last I checked, it was more than like 10,000 views. So definitely a good amount of interest in that. And then lo and behold, I came across this experience on Reddit, and involves also the world of gnomes. It's from a subreddit I don't think I've covered in the past called Experiencers. Maybe I have, but I don't recall it 100%. But it comes from a user by the name of Seeker of Truth Only, and they aptly titled theirs as "I Saw a Gnome." So very good stuff. Those of you that are fans of gnomes, seems like there's a lot of them out there still. This will be a special treat for you. It's a little bit short, but as a bonus, I do have a second gnome encounter within the same subreddit, within the same post actually, to talk about as well. So 2 for 1. How about that? So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's share this encounter, and then I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on there too. So here's what this user states. One day I woke up and I heard a rustling in my room. I thought it was my mom going through my stuff, and I didn't want her to mess up the way I organized the room, so I tried to ask Mom, "What are you doing?" to try to figure out what she was doing, but I realized I could not speak. All of a sudden, a gnome looking creature's head points up to where it is visible, as if it was lower than my bed previously to where it was not visible to me. This gnome was staring at me and not saying anything. He was about the same height as a garden gnome, had all the similar facial features. I am unsure if he was wearing a pointy hat or not, as this was somewhat of a long time ago. I thought he was real, so I tried to take a picture of him, but I couldn't move. I now know it was sleep paralysis, but when it happened, I just wasn't aware. I'm not a person who has any type of fascination with gnomes at all. I'm unsure why I would hallucinate a gnome of all things. They are not necessarily scary nor interesting to me. I also do not own any garden gnomes. Then that's it. That's everything from the user Seeker of Truth Only. I told y'all it would be a little bit short, so let's go ahead and let's talk about that encounter here. So how about that? In this case, the user encountered a gnome there in the night, presumably by themselves, or the mom was somewhere else, I guess, in the house. They thought at first that the mom was there with them, but then when they heard that rustling and they asked what was happening, like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Lo and behold, a gnome popped out. Now, the gnome apparently looked just like a garden gnome. That's what the way the user described it. It had the same height, same facial features. They couldn't quite tell if it was with a pointy hat or not. But what was interesting was this. The user stated that all of a sudden the head popped up to where it was visible, where previously it was not visible. So the impression I got was that the user was looking towards the end of their bed. And then when they asked, "Mom, what are you doing?" That's when this gnome popped up. So it gave me the idea maybe this gnome was levitating, because otherwise, what would it be perched on? The user didn't mention that it jumped on the bed, nor did they state that they could see it hanging on to something. So it made me wonder if this thing was flying, like if it was actually levitating within its area. But otherwise, it didn't do anything else. It just stared at the user and vice versa. And then when the user tried to take a picture, that's when they realized that they couldn't move. They were with sleep paralysis. Now, that is, I think, the first time I remember anything involving the world of sleep paralysis and gnomes. I don't recall mentioning that in the 20 things video involving gnomes. If I did, someone pointed out, or if someone else has heard that as well in other areas, let me know. But I think that's a first. Does anyone else know more information about that? Do gnomes, just by being in their vicinity, cause that type of sleep paralysis? I wish the user again could have provided more detail, like what happened afterward, whether it was the gnome, like what happened to it. Did it just disappear? Did it just run off? What happened to the user? Did they pass out? Was there something else happening to them? When did they realize that they could move again? Did they encounter the gnome afterward too, like a couple of times afterward, or was this just a one-time deal? Not too much info, unfortunately, but that's essentially everything that's listed there. But as the bonus, there was another user within the same post, but in the comments, one by the name of Flat Corp. They gave their own experience, so I wanted to showcase it here. Here's what they said. They said, I've seen them before as well. However, mine was during the day and not in sleep paralysis. For the last 7 years, I've had the experience where I get dizzy. I feel like I'm flipping head over heels. And then I feel a large part of myself shift to the right as a tangible wave of something moves over me. I was still in my house, except I was in my house mostly in another place, while still in my normal house, as though my consciousness had bifurcated and I was in two places at once, except I'm 70% there, 30% here. In my case, they, meaning the gnomes, were pretty scared of me, although that could be because I was more there than they're used to. There was probably 10 of them, and as soon as they realized I could see them, they all ran behind two doors and then peeked out from it. One of them was oblivious, trying to tightrope walk on my windowsill. My cat immediately jumped up, started chasing it, which is when I realized what I was seeing was real. Very strange. And so that's the encounter from this other user by the name of Flat Corp. So let's talk about that quickly here. Here is an encounter with a gnome. It did not involve sleep paralysis, but more on the lines of something like a wave. Interesting stuff. Apparently, this person shifted between their dimension to this other dimension, something like that. They described as being 70% there in that other dimension, 30% back home. Same place though, same house, same area, but now they're in a different dimension of that area. It reminded me of that great movie Constantine. Remember when he shifts between the real world over to hell? It's the same place, but it's a different location, if you can imagine it, like if you've seen the movie. That's what I think is what's happening here. And in this case, they saw the gnomes. They saw 10 of them, but these gnomes were actually a little bit more frightful. They realized that they were being watched, and when that happened, they pretty much scrambled out of there. The user said they were scared of him, and so they ran over to the nearest two doors, and then they started peeking out from them. One of them, in a strange, almost hilarious way, was not realizing the situation, that there was a cat nearby, that there was the user's cat. And so the user's cat decided to chase after it. So you can just imagine that little gnome moving its body as quickly as possible out of the windowsill and then getting somewhere else where it couldn't be captured. And then that was it. That was the encounter that this user had. What was it? Why were they seeing this stuff? Why were they shifting to this other universe? Were the gnomes living in the same exact apartment or house, whatever it was? Who knows? But again, that's two experiences for one. Let me know what you guys and gals think as far as those encounters. Love to hear as well if anyone has any other encounters of their own involving gnomes. Post them in the comments. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.